To all the old blokes and folks who've joined me so far with this, thank you. This is the last installment, and I'm going to be doing the fastest, most comprehensive spreadsheet I can do, showing a whole lot of different applications of what I've covered so far. So hit like and follow if this has been of benefit to you, and let's proceed. So for the last time, we will open a new Excel worksheet. We are going to call this import costing. And the idea behind it is it's a spreadsheet for a company. The company is an importer that uses exchange rates. There are duties that is paid, and you want the value, freight included, for each item by the time it's been landed. And then you want just a basic retail costing. So up the top here, I'm going to start with the exchange rate. And we are going to say, I'm going to use a South African context. I'm importing in dollars and I want to convert it into rands. So I'm going to put USD ZAR, and I'm going to start with an arbitrary figure of 18 rands to $1 US. Now I'm going to format this. I'm going to format it. I want by number. I'm wanting 4 decimal points. And there we go. 4 decimal points, and I'm going to put it into blue because that is an input field. That is the very, very beginning. Now, we've got to start giving some thought as to what we're going to do with the information relating to what we are importing. I'm going to only go with 5 line items. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. There we go. Let's centralize this, and we're going to open this up. And our first item is going to be item 1, item 2, item 3, item 4, item 5. Whatever those items are. And we're now going to, I'm going to put in an additional line here. So I'm going to say item, description, quantity, value, and all of this in blue. We're going to have 1 of those, we're going to have 3 of those, we're going to have 4 of those, 2 of those, and 5 of those. Our values. We are going to have this now, of course, in dollars. $10, $12, $13, $15, $16. So being our heading, I'm going to bold it, I'm going to centralize it, I'm going to underline it. There we go. Dead simple. Let's centralize that, and let's start putting in some formatting. Format cells, number, separator, there we go. So here we're going to have a total. That is going to be equal to that times that. We're going to copy that, we're going to paste it, and we want the same formatting, number, and there we go. So I've got my blue that I put in, I've got the exchange rate that I put in, I've got the items, the description, the quantity, and the value, and I've got a calculated total. Now, on an invoice, you're probably going to have something that looks just like this, but you are going to then have a total. So let's start making this look a little neat. Let's put this in blocks. I now want a subtotal there. So I'm going to say that is equal to the sum of all of these. Sorry, I don't have to actually put it. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little bit messy here. Let me just undo. Escape. Sorry. I'm going to so sum there. Sorry, that was a bit cumbersome. There we go. There's our total. And now we're going to have freight. And in blue, let's give an arbitrary amount of $100. We're now going to have a subtotal there that is equal to the sum of those two. And we've got $312 charged for 5 line items. We've got a total quantity of 15 items. 1, 3, 4, 2, and 5. There are the values. There's the total. There's the freight. So you would capture this from the invoice that's been sent to you. And we now get to a point where we now want to get the items individually costed. We want to know what each item costs after the exchange rate and with a component of the freight. Now that's an interesting one, because if you're going to allocate freight per value, you've now got to work out what percentage each of these items constitutes of the total. So what I do, I use working columns. So I'm going to take column H and I'm going to I want to know what each item is as a percentage. So I'm going to start by saying that is equal to that, 212. That is then equal to that. So what I'm doing is I'm putting in a working column. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to paste that down there, and I've now got a total. I need this as a working to now do subsequent calculations over here. So now I'm going to take these totals here. I'm going to go equals 10, equals that, equals that, equals that, equals that, etc. Now, what have I got? I can now work out what percentage each of these line items is of the total. So I can then apply that as a percentage to the freight and add that. That is the total. This is then equal to the individual cost. So I can, of course, Control C, Control V. You see what I'm getting to? I've got working columns which I can hide later, but I can tell you now that item 1, the unitary value $10, let's work that as a percentage of the total. So I can go there equals that divided by that times 100. That $10 line item is 4.7% of the 12. Now let's do that all the way down. Let's go copy and let's paste that. Each individual item is now disclosed as a percentage of the total value. Now, what are we going to do with that information? We're going to work out that percentage as a percentage of the freight. So I'm going to now put my freight amount there. And I'm going to have that all the way down. I'm going to copy it, paste it. Now I'm going to say, and it's quite simple because it's 100, and we know that 4.7% of 100 is $4.7. But let's change this. Let's put freight in at $150. It's updated it there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this one to a 2, just to make it a little bit more interesting. You can see this is all being recalculated. It's all alive. Change the blue, this changes. So now we have freight of $150. I know that each item of this line is 4.5%. So what is that in dollar value? That is equal to that times that divided by 100. I'm going to copy that down, copy, and there we go. So what is the dollar cost, freight included, of each item? This is now, this is the dollar value of the freight, because we've worked out the percentage per item of the total value and applied that to the 150. So it's dead simple. This column is our freight. So that is equal to that plus that. Copy, paste that down. So what have we got here? Very interesting. We have got the item, $10 plus its percentage of freight is now $16.76. The item costing $12 plus its percentage of freight is $20.11. Now let's cross-check this. I'm going to take these these quantities here, and I'm going to put them in this column. I'm going to copy it and paste it all the way down. Now, if I say this column is equal to that times that, and I copy that all the way down, remember down here you can get a summary. So if I now add this up, 372, 372. I've now cross-checked and confirmed that my calculations are correct. So this here is what we're dealing with. This here is what we're dealing with. This is the unitary cost in dollars per item. Okay. But now we're wanting to know, with the exchange rate, what these costs are. So what I'm going to do now is let me compact this neatly. This is all working, these are all working columns. I'm now going to copy this exchange rate into a column. I'm going to say equals that, there's my 18, and I'm going to copy it all the way down. There we go. If I had to change that to 20, it changes it to 20. This is now alive. Change the blue and everything copies through. So now I'm going to copy this block, Control C, Control V. Now I've copied values. I want this block to change as I change anything there. So here I'm going to go equals that, equals that, equals that. You see what I'm getting at? So if I call this a seal, you can see it changes. If I call this a bearing, if I call this a shaft, if I call this a pinion, and if I call this a bracket, you can see it all copies through. Now because it's copying through, I'm going to put it in black. There we go. And what is my cost? My cost is equal to that multiplied by my exchange rate. 335.13. I can then put the same in each subsequent block. That times the exchange rate equals to that times the exchange rate. I'm going to go all the way down. I'm going to do this manually. And there we go. Let's neaten this. Let's format, number, There we go. And what we can do, we can actually drag this block down. If we do that, all the formulas remain intact. And here is our ZAR cost individually. Now you see what happens here. This is just a working area, and we can highlight it, right click, and we can go hide. Gone. If we then highlight, you see A, B, C, D, E, F, G, S. So I have hidden block columns H just before S. If I go unhide, they're back. And you can now put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can put in 10, 12, 56, 78. What's happening here? We're running out of space, so we're needing to just widen it nicely. So this now becomes a completely dynamic, active worksheet. Now, we've got our costs here. Now maybe what we want to do is start applying a little bit of a markup. We can put a 10 and a 20% and maybe a 30% markup. So we're going to copy this all the way down, and we've now got figures that we can now work with these. So I'm going to put 10%, 20%, 30%. Now the formatting here, it's picked up odd formatting. So I'm going to clear contents, and I'm going to change the formatting to general. 20%. Now, if we want to know what our selling price is with these markups, we're going to go equals that times 1.1. And we're going to copy that all the way down. With 20%, we're going to go equals that times 1.2. That is equal to that times 1.3. So what I can do now is I can highlight that. I can go Control C, highlight that, enter. Now let's neaten the formatting up. Format cells, number, and look at that. We now don't need any of this. We can now hide this, and we can make this, block this up nicely, bold it, centralize it, and we have successfully now created a very elementary worksheet which allows us to put in an exchange rate. It allows us to put in all the details of the items, copies down. We've got quantities, we've got values in another currency, we've got freight, and then we've got the cost of the item with freight included at an exchange rate, and then we've modeled various markups for each individual item. That is a pretty neat little document to have. You can then print it. You can put it into a PDF, and of course you're going to want to save it. You've got the ability to make copies of it. So if this was a costing worksheet, you right click, move or copy, move to the end, create copy, and you can call this consignment number 1. And of course you can delete. You see you've now got your master sheet here. You've now got your consignment of items comes in. If you right click on the selection and you go clear contents, it of course empties it out for you, and you can start from the beginning again. So you've now got a consignment of stationery that arrives. So you've got envelopes, pens, reams of paper, you've got cartridges, and you've got staplers. You bought 1,000 envelopes, you bought 50 pens, you bought 25 reams of paper, 10 cartridges, and 5 staplers. I'm just going to put in some random values. And then your transport, $100. So your cost was $1,400. For some reason, you're now importing stationery from America into South Africa, and the exchange rates improved slightly to 18. And there we have the cost per envelope, per pen, per ream, per cartridge, per stapler, with your markup. That illustrates a whole bunch of really useful functionality in Excel. There are things here that we can delve into, but as far as making sense and making use of Excel, for the guys who've resisted it, I hope that this has had value for you, and that you've been able to have insight into what you can do on a very elementary level. None of this is difficult. It really isn't. It just takes practice. There may be better ways of doing this. There may be simpler ways. I'm presenting functionality that has worked very well for me for a very long time, and comments and thoughts would of course be appreciated. So with that, thank you for joining me. Bye bye.